Welcome to the Fresh and Fired Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Emily Marshall, here to help you function at your best in health, fitness, and life. Joined by my co-host, the Hailee Piendl. Let's get fired up.
We're fired up because it's 2026. I can't believe it.
How's the new year, new you, Hailee?
New year, new me. It's never changing. It's been so hectic.
Did you say never changing or ever changing?
It's never. Like I definitely used to be like, oh my gosh, new year, let's get excited. Now I'm like, it's just a regular old day and I'm just gonna continue on. But we've been moving. So my place.
Oh, what did you just drop in your house? I heard a crash.
My external drive for my YouTube videos.
Oh shoot.
It's all good. Anyways, as I was saying, my house is just barren and like I'm in that weird like some of it's over there and some of it's here. And then we're getting our dog next weekend. I'm coming over to your area, your neck of the woods. I'm going to Edmonton to get our little puppy dog.
That's exciting.
And everything is changing so fast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be an adult. Leave me alone.
What's happening? Okay, well, your apartment is barren, but if you are following us on YouTube, if you're not, go to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and you'll see that although she's moving, her apartment still has her cat photo up. What do I call that? Painting. Print? What is it?
His name is Ked, and I don't know if he's probably gonna have to go into my room. The thing about us too, which I love about me and Justin, is like I am complete opposite. He's very like basic colors, just black, gray, white. And I'm like, this is Ked. He's on my wall. I have 3 ostriches dressed up as princesses over there. There's lots going on. I just love the psychedelic stuff.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah. What have you been doing? How is your new year?
Oh, things are so good. They're looking up in the new year. My last 2 weeks of 2025 were extremely difficult, but survived. As many of you know, I do still work as a chiropractor. I do an eclectic mix of things, right, Hailee?
Yes.
But I have been in the clinic quite a bit, and I injured my neck to the point where my nerve, like basically, I think I might have bulged a disc in my neck. I'm not 100% sure, but given my clinical background, I do know the symptoms of that quite well from seeing it on other people. And so crazy radiating nerve issues into my right arm and hand to the point where it was like I wasn't able to even hold my coffee cup with my right hand. Not because of pain, but lack of feeling and lack of motor function, meaning my muscles were not responding to what my brain was telling them to do. Waking up in the mornings with like no feeling, like all numbness and tingling in my right hand. And of course, psychologically, I was struggling with some fears around that because I was like, no, I need my right hand. I'm right-handed, not only just for everyday like writing or on your phone, but like because you use it as a chiropractor. So that was definitely, I had to get over, okay, no, like I know that when this type of injury occurs, it's quite a long healing time. Thankfully, I've had so many people praying for me, and I had a lot of rest. I tapered my workouts down a lot. Like I was still keeping my habits fairly consistent, but not the weight volume I would normally do in the gym. And it's crazy because I think it was either our last episode or the episode before that I had told you, I was like, oh man, I'm almost back up to like pre-baby lifting with my weight. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like for powerlifting. And yeah, that got completely hosed in the latter part of December. But I'm super thankful. I really feel like God answered my prayers. I woke up on New Year's Day for the first time with full feeling in my right hand. So I was like, oh, thank you, Lord.
Oh my gosh. How did you do this? Like, what happened? Was it just overuse or?
Well, okay, that's a good question. I'll try not to make the story too long. But originally I sneezed and my head went forward. This can happen with back pain too, where if you hit a sneeze on the wrong angle, it can like put a lot of pressure through your spinal discs. So that was the original like starting point of vulnerability. And I was like, oh no, I did something. This is not right. and my neck really seized up, which seems so ridiculous. Like, what a lame story, right? Like, I sneezed. Is that a sign of aging? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
No, not at all. But basically, what happened then was I had babied it for a bit, and I didn't really say much about it because I was like, it's fine. I'm going to be fine. Got some care, some chiropractic care. But then what happened was I needed to be in the clinic for a full week. And I usually do part-time, like, patient volume. I did a full week of full patient volume, or mostly full patient volume. And my neck and arm were not ready for that. It's quite physical. Like, it's quite a physical job. That in combination, we've had so much snow here. Like, our banks are probably like 6 feet high. It's crazy. Well, maybe not 6 feet, like 5 feet. But either way, it's been a ton of snow shoveling. We actually had to shovel off our roof because there was so much built up on top of it. So between like adjusting, like the initial injury, trying to still do workouts, adjusting, and then coming home in the evenings and shoveling snow, like we had a day where we did like 6 hours of shoveling. And it was after that, yeah, it was crazy. After that day, I was hosed. I was like, I have no feeling in my arm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like in recovery mode, and I was dealing with my own headspace. It's so crazy, right? Because we do these episodes on injury and how to not slip into mental spiral with injury. But dude, we can talk about it, but then once you're in it, you have to like revisit all these principles, to not grandize the issue into like this catastrophic thing that's just going to ruin your life forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was good.
Well, that's crazy. I'm glad
Right?
you're kind of like feeling better.
Yes, I was in the gym today, not doing full weight, but I'm
Yeah.
able to hold a dumbbell again without it slipping out of my hand,
Oh
which
my
is huge.
gosh, this is crazy. I had
Yeah, it
no
was really
idea.
bad. Like, I was like, I can now hold, if I'm holding like two 40-pound dumbbells, one in each hand, the right hand, like by the time I'm finishing a set, is like slipping open because I'm like
Mm.
not able to hold my fist fully. But yeah, I was able to do it today. So I'm super thankful for that.
Oh, I bet. Out of
Right?
commission for a bit. And you were on vacation, right?
Yeah, we took a little vacation to Edmonton. We took like a family trip to Edmonton, went and saw a hockey game, spent some time with friends, and it was good because it just gets you out of your own environment and allowed
Mhm.
me to really like rest, right? Like,
Yeah.
not because even when you're in your own home, especially like we're a household of 6, there is always something to do in our household. If it's not snow removal, it's dishes and laundry. And yeah, you could clean your house 1,000 times and it still
Yeah.
looks like it's never been cleaned. So it was nice to really fully rest and like sleep in some, which I don't ever do, as you know. That was hugely helpful for recovery too. So
Yeah, I bet.
right? Speaking of which, okay, so this got me like on a train of thought for coming into the new year here. And I didn't even mean to segue it this way, but this is just working out perfectly, is cleaning up your physical environment. I was thinking about
Mhm.
this. There's so many times when I go to look into like, whether it's new year or any time of year where we're looking at goal setting or kind of resetting ourselves in a way, right? Or looking at, okay, here's what I've been doing. And maybe you just need to refocus on a goal that you already have, right? That's kind of slipped through the cracks. And I very much find this. I'm wondering if you do too. And I mean, you're kind of in transition right now, so your space is kind of tore up in a way. But if you are maintaining, not in the middle of a move or something, it's one of those things. If you look at my dresser in my bedroom, it will tell you so much about my headspace. Like, there are times when my dresser is just like a clutter of overflowing, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, I need to deal with that. There's all this stuff I've just been setting on there. And then there's times when it's like clean, and I feel like it's like when my head is also clear and clean. And so I was doing some research into the psychology behind our physical environment and how our our head space, how much there's a feedback loop with your environment and your mind. And it's really fascinating. Like, this whole idea of like clean up your room or set your house in order, it can there is a shadow side to it, which I will bring up as well. But I feel like there's a psychological mechanism that occurs, and a lot of it has to do with agency and self-efficacy.
Mm.
And so I find this fascinating because when life feels chaotic, which it can feel chaotic during a move. It can feel chaotic even just getting kids back to school.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a profession where you've had time off over Christmas and New Year's and now you're just getting back to work, this can feel chaotic because your brain is tracking on a different frequency.
Mhm.
And so one thing that can happen is these spirals can start to occur where you start to feel like in certain areas of your life, I can't do anything about this, right? Like life is chaotic, things feel crazy, they feel up in the air. And cleaning is actually a small, concrete win that can approve the opposite. So it tells your brain, I can influence outcomes. There are certain outcomes I can influence in my life. Of course, we all know that there's a bunch that we can't influence necessarily, right? That can feel crazy. So, this whole idea of even just taking a look at your room and being like, okay, where is this at? Give yourself this sense of agency or self efficacy that can be strongly linked to a better mood. It can be linked to this idea of persistence and building resilience within your mind and body. So I wanted to kick off with that. I feel like it's kind of an interesting take, but I want to do something different. We have episodes back throughout the years in January on like one word and picking a one word.
Mhm.
You can go back and listen to that. We have ones on SMART goals. We talked a lot about last week's episode. We talked about expectations and setting them. So yeah, what do you think of this? Tell
I
me your
think
thoughts.
it's so true. And like it's so prevalent to where I'm at in my life and like moving. And
Right?
oh my gosh, it's funny too because like it's very I'm very grateful because I am allowed to and like get to have the luxury of slowly moving. I don't have to like I have to be out by the 31st. Like I don't. I'm in my parents' house. I can just genuinely like, oh, I'm gonna go here now,
Right.
blah blah blah. But tackling my closet, holy man. I had
Was
so
it
much clothes.
overwhelming?
It was so overwhelming, and I think that's where a lot of people get stuck too, where it's like, I have this big overarching thing that I need to do, and then you just procrastinate because there's so many times where it's like, I looked at my closet, I'm like, "You know what? I could go do some work right now." Whereas, like, cleaning my closet was probably what I should have done at that time, and how you gain that momentum when you start. So I started, and now my closet's cleaned, my jackets are all over there, my cupboards, oh, my cupboards, holy, they're all cleaned up. So it's
That's
just like a
crazy.
matter of starting, but it can be really overwhelming when you have this, like, especially when you've let things go for so long, right? And I think that maintenance is really important. Of like, if you look at your room and you just kind of let things accumulate, it gets even worse to start rather than doing those little incremental everyday things of like, I'm just going to make my bed, I'm going to get the laundry, I'm going to put it in there rather than have a hamper full of laundry that you have to spend a whole day doing, right? So just allowing yourself to do that little incremental things to keep your environment in order is something that, yeah, I should do. And I think will be a lot better when I live with another human being.
Could be better, could be worse. We'll
It
see.
could be worse. However, I think I'm going to do really well because I'm like, I need, when I'm with somebody, I'll be a lot
Accountability.
cleaner and I'll be a lot more like in order. When I'm with myself, I'm just like, whatever.
Whatever,
Future
man.
Hailee can deal with that.
Well, this is funny because so yesterday, so my boys are 7 and 5. And my girls are 9 and 12, right? So the girls, when I'm like, all right, we need to do a reset on your room, they're pretty self sufficient. Like, I'll come in, they'll ask me, like, Mom, should I keep this sweater or something, and I'll give them my opinion or I'll help them with little corners of it. But mostly they can do a lot on their own now, right? Whereas the boys are still, I'm like, all right, boys, we're doing this together because they need to go through their clothes. When you have toddlers, they grow so much and you're like, okay, this is 3T. We need to move you into the 4Ts and pull out the bin from your older brother and see what fits you. Like, it's a process. You'll see when you have kids. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is a job. So it's funny because my 7-year-old boy, we had all of his clothes out of his dresser in like this big pile in his room. And I left because I was helping the 5-year-old. And I come back in and he's like, he had put 3 shirts back in his drawer that he was keeping. And then he was just like sprawled out on this mountain of clothes. And he's like, Mom, I'm so done with this. He was like super dramatic. And I'm like, he's like, I can't do one more piece. I'm like, dude, you did 3 pieces of clothing. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do, like, he was so overwhelmed. And so I was like, buddy, we're just going to do one at a time. And so I thought it was interesting because he's living out this drama in his mind in full emotion, where I think adults do the same thing. It's just
Yeah.
all in your head. You're not quite that dramatic out loud usually, right? And so we ended up making this little assembly line. I was like, dude, you just pair the pajamas together and we'll get rid of the small ones and then hand me them and I'll fold them. And we worked together. And all of a sudden it was like totally doable. And he's like singing and working away. And so, I mean, sometimes you just need help from a friend. That could be part of the life lesson. The other part, though, it tells us a lot. This story tells us a lot about what happens in our brain. So, what can happen with big jobs and even things you've been procrastinating a while, it can turn into almost a small bout of depression in a sense, or like
Mhm.
there can be like the overwhelm, the depression, the sadness that can all go in order. So, what happens is we can do these things called behavioral activation, and there's these antidepressant antidepressant mechanics that occur. Okay. And what happens is, because a lot of times when we get into a more depressive state, it can be because of shutdown and avoidance. These are two big ones.
The
And so the
freeze part,
longer
right?
you avoid it, right, the worse that it gets. So cleaning, it can be a form of behavioral activation. Like you said, Hailee, once you get going on it, because you can really see the change occur. So, like the example I gave with my son, he could start to see that pile get smaller. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, I can see the floor again. Oh, we're almost there. Look, this is not that bad, right? How many songs do we need to listen to on the speaker to get through this pile? It wasn't actually that many, right? When you're singing along to the music. So, that can affect your mood because you start to see change very quickly, which is the opposite of your fitness goals where you're like, am I seeing change? Like, you're not going to see change in 2 hours like you do when you clean up your room. You're going to see change over the course of 6 months. So I think it's this micro win for our brain that can help us with our habits where we see the outcome is taking a lot longer, which is what we talked about on last week's episode, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good thing to just like know that there's two different types of gratifications as well, of like you can clean your room, and that kind of builds up your belief pattern that if you put in X amount of work or if you do said actions and you get the outcome eventually. But yeah, I definitely see that, especially like in the fitness realm of like, oh my God, I've been doing this for like 2 weeks. Where's my 10-pound fat loss? I'm like, girlfriend, you're in this for life. Like, relax.
Yeah,
It's not a thing that you
totally.
can just like stop. And same thing for the maintenance of your environment, right? It's not something that you do one time and then you forget about. It's something that you have to keep up with. And having, I know that we've talked about systems before, and having systems in your household, systems in your own personal life of like, okay, this is the day that I'm going to do this, even, and then relying of course on discipline and that motivation factor that is just so unreliable, and something that I'm never motivated. I'm not motivated to move ever. I hate it. It's the
You're
worst thing in
funny.
life ever. And anyways, I've had so much like, I feel so good when I'm done, like
Oh,
you
yeah.
finish something. When I finish one cupboard, I'm like, you know what? That was awesome. I feel so good. I'm like one step closer to being completely done with this stuff. And I think that's like what builds your confidence in knowing like, okay, yes, I can do this hard thing even if I don't feel like doing it right now. It doesn't get done by me procrastinating. It doesn't get done by me ruminating about it. You don't have to like it. And I think too, for yourself with like your sons and like going through your or their closet, making it a little bit more fun. So same thing with fitness or even your environment, finding things that make this really like daunting task a little bit more fun. So like for myself, I'll put on a podcast, shout out our podcast,
Yeah,
or a
put it on.
YouTube, or like music that I'll dance around and do that. And so make it a little easier or at least more enjoyable, like kind of pairing those two up so the habit actually sticks. Yeah, so I do that whenever I clean because I don't love cleaning. I like the aftermath of cleaning, but music is always on, so I get it
Yeah.
done.
It's I love that you brought up systems that create friction for the bad habits
Hmm.
and ease for the good habits. So we do this I don't know if I can, for some reason, I have no memory of whether I brought this up recently. I may have, but we
Okay.
have checklists in the mornings for our kids that we just started. We've only been doing it for like a month, maybe 6 weeks. And we obviously didn't do it over their Christmas holiday. So we pulled the checklist back out. They're like, we laminated them. They're half page. We have morning on one side, and then you flip it over in afternoon, like after school habits on the other side. And it is so helpful for focus because when you think about it, and we can do this as adults too, like make yourself a checklist. It could be the consistent basic tasks. Each of them have like only 6 or 7 things on there. And it's basic of like, they love the gratification of checking off the list. It's like, eat your breakfast, brush your teeth, pack your bag, find your water bottle. Like it's not even that hard. But what it does is it creates the consistency in the system. And it also, when you think about it, we can clutter our minds with so many open tabs. So even when our physical environment is cluttered, it's like having all those tabs open on your computer, which is also mentally cluttering, right? And so your visual field is like, what am I doing? I'm all over the place from one thing to the next to the next. And when you set in place this system that creates ease where you just go through and you check off your list, that can help focus you and decrease some of the cognitive load because it'll take away some of the decision fatigue, which is the same thing that happens when we create an exercise program for a client. It allows you to be like, oh, I just wake up, I just get there, I just follow the program. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to like arrive at the gym and be like, what are we going to do today? Right. In which case, that's like so way too much overload, way too many decisions on something that you need that decision power for so many other things in your life. And what happens is if you use it up on all these small tasks and all these open tabs that are all over the place, either physically or mentally, you end up not actually achieving, or you will feel like you didn't achieve anything. And then you can go into that beating yourself up mode because you're like, what did I even get done today?
Exactly, exactly. And this is a funny thing that you brought up too, because like I used to think of like, oh my gosh, why have a coach? Why have a trainer or whatever? Because I know what to do, but it's not like knowing what to do. It's that decision fatigue of having something off of your plate because you only have X amount of energy throughout the days. And like I see this so much in like period recovery as well. They're like, I know what to do. Why do I need you? Well, it's like, well, you don't, but you're gonna like not. You're
But
gonna
you
have
would have
like
already done it without me if you hadn't have.
exactly,
It's a
exactly. And it's like
willpower thing.
exactly. And also like that decision making of like, is this the right thing? Is that the right thing? And it's like, well, it's more so about the stress that kind of puts off of your shoulders. And like I do this with myself too, where it's like I've completely shifted my mindset towards like mentorships or like coaches or something like that of like this is not for the information per se, it's for that like just do this freaking for me, tell me what to do so I can focus on my own life and what actually like matters to me rather than this thing that I want to achieve and it is important to me, but it's like, well, I kind of want to offload and delegate it, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah, there's only so much bandwidth, right? And you have to set those boundaries for yourself. And sometimes it's setting boundaries for your present self. Sometimes it's setting boundaries for your future self too, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
a combination of both of those things. And even in our example of having a tidy space, it's like a pre commitment. You're making it easier for your future self to do whatever you need to get done or get wherever you need to get on time. For example, when I put my keys, we have a little bowl that sits by our microwave in our kitchen, and all the keys are just supposed to go back into that bowl, right? Like when you, not random place in the counter, not random corner of my dresser. Because for your future self, when you're trying to get out the door on time, what's going to hold you up? I can't find my keys. Well, if I had followed the system of just putting my keys where the keys go, then this wouldn't be holding me up, right? So simple example, but you can use that on a grander scale too, right? Where you're like, you're making this commitment to make it so that you can do these other things, which is like, if I just put my keys back, then I can make it to work a few minutes early and feel less stressed. And when I feel less stressed, everyone's happier, etc. It filters down the train, right? Or down the train, down the chain. Chain is what I'm trying to say, which can act
Absolutely.
as a nervous system regulator.
Absolutely. The efficiency. And I think like I do this a lot with clients too, where like they're feeling really overwhelmed. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, why are we feeling overwhelmed? What part of your schedule, what part of like your day makes you most drained? Can you delegate it? Can you systemize it? Can you kind of outsource something? Because if you're just going to like white knuckle your way through, it's just going to, make you more stressed out. You can't sleep. Now you're in fight or flight or freeze, and now you're paralyzed and you can't get more stuff done. So it
Mhm.
really restricts you in like your growth as well, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think all of these things, goals behind it, can be creating more clarity, more
Mhm.
capacity. I think those are good words when we think about, like, obviously, we can't always have this global control. Most of the time we can't. But when you look at it, if your brain is craving that and you feel like you already lend yourself to like a high control person, or like, oh, but this needs to go perfectly or this needs to go smoothly, but then it never does, and you feel disappointed over and over again, you can start with this high control, clear feedback type activity. This is why we're using cleaning as the example, because of that immediate, measurable, within reach type of outcome, so that you can rebuild your momentum and go, okay, I can work through this process, even though it's not going to change the global external environment of the world we live in and just the way that life goes, right?
Mhm.
But I think it can help our mood a lot, creating that clarity, and kind of almost in a symbolic way, like I talked about with my dresser, where I'm like, it almost gives you a picture of how your brain is feeling when you look at your physical space. And I talked about a lot about this when I was doing more of the marketing with Frexy. It can come out in even how we appear physically, right? Like, do we get dressed nicely that day? Do we it's kind of back to those dopamine levels, right? Do we put it are we do we have even the energy to put effort into ourselves, in a sense?
Yes, absolutely. Even for myself too, when I get really like drained or like things are happening, even my like hygiene, like it kind of falls by the wayside. Like my eyebrows will be terrible. I have a
Right.
mustache. Like it's horrendous.
I know. I'm like, when's the last time I clipped my toenail? Yeah, there's stuff like
Yeah.
that, right? Yep.
Exactly. So it kind of falls by the wayside. And it's like, well, that's a really big indicator that maybe I need to like take some more stuff off of my plate so I can take care of myself. Cause that's, yeah, I think it's a really good checkpoint with yourself, like either your environment or your own, like for myself, like my hygiene that I don't or do keep up with.
Right.
Just to know like
Depending on what you
how,
have going on.
yeah, how your external is affecting your brain.
Yeah, like it's a feedback loop back and forth, that
Mhm.
internal and external, right? And how I think the shadow side of this, I said I would come back to the shadow side, right? Is for some people, cleaning can then turn into the perfectionism, the control as coping, especially under stress. So if someone is depressed or like ADHD or just feeling like super overwhelmed, you could get into this mode of like, I must clean, like almost like obsessively, I must clean the whole house intensely, which can backfire. Like if you do too big of a goal in a short amount of time, you can almost feel that sense of shame, or like, oh, I wasn't able to do all this. So you have to, a good way to combat that is like, take a chunk of it, like make it a small timed winnable thing. So even setting a timer for 10 minutes or whatever it is, I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to pick one area. Like I'm just going to make sure all my kitchen counters are clear and I've wiped them and my dishes are all in the dishwasher. I think that would be a good way to look at, like, well, how much time do you have? Because I know that I've made that mistake before where I'm like, I'm going to do everything. I'm doing all the bedding and I'm doing everything all at once. And then I'm like way more anxious by the end of it because I'm like, I can't
Mhm.
do all this.
Yeah.
You know what
Yes,
I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. That was me on the weekend because I'm like, I'm gonna do my fridge and oh my gosh.
Did you
Yeah,
do it?
I did. I did. I did all of my expired sauces, dumping them down the drain, recycling them. everything, but I was anticipating. So this was my plan, and then I'll tell you what reality actually was. I did my, I was gonna do my freezer, and then I was gonna do my fridge, and then I was gonna do all of my like pantry cupboards. So I have about 3 pantry cupboards, and I got to about the fridge and the freezer, and then I was like, it's been 3 hours. So then, okay, I'm like, okay, Hailee, like we're gonna stop there, and tomorrow is the cupboards. That's what we're gonna tackle. But essentially, yeah, know your limit, play within it, and like don't allow that perfectionism to hinder it, or at least like make you feel like a failure because you didn't get there. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Well, and that's where I think and I hope that creating some understanding within ourselves, having the awareness of how can we gain psychological benefit without tipping ourselves over into the psychological distress more. So, how we can, because what we're really trying to do is reduce the load. We talked about it with decision fatigue and psychological overwhelm, right? There's, here's basically the feedback loop. It's like agency, or like that self efficiency, or sorry, self efficacy is what I'm trying to say. And then reduced load and safety cues. Whereas I think when we don't have any of those like safety cues, that's where we can almost tip ourselves into more of a problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And you
where it
can
becomes
do,
perfectionism.
right. So you can do that in small amounts. And I feel like there was this joke. Sorry, my nose is itchy. If you see me on YouTube, I'm just itching my nose. It's dry in here.
She's picking her nose.
I wasn't
Go
picking it.
watch
I
it on
promise.
YouTube.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube. It's great, guys. So what? No, I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying?
Self-efficacy, and then safety cues.
Yeah, reduce load,
Reduce
safety
those safety
cues.
cues.
Oh, I don't remember. It doesn't matter. If it pops back, I'll tell you guys. But
Okay.
basically, yeah. What do you have to say, Hailee?
Yeah,
You
I
talk
was
for a
gonna
bit.
say about safety cues and the perfectionism part of it too, because like I've definitely seen myself be in that perfectionism where what you explained, having too much, and then whatever you don't get done is a failure. And then I've also seen myself, like I'm very proud of myself for how I'm moving right now, because I'm just taking it as I'm not like pressuring myself. And I think when I get that urgency or that like time scarcity, that's when my nervous system kind of goes haywire, where it's like, oh my gosh. And I think it's the time scarcity thing that really got me before, of like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough time in the day to do it. But in reality, like, yes, you do most of the time if you have a realistic expectation of what you're expecting from yourself that day. So I think that perfectionism paired with that time scarcity is like a really bad, like, potion for just, yeah,
I
really bad.
love that you brought up time scarcity. That makes so much sense. I feel like that causes a lot of people huge amounts of psychological distress. Here's an example that I like to think of with it is when you are driving somewhere and you're like, I need to get there quickly, right? Really, most of the time, if you're only driving 20 minutes from wherever you're trying to get, it's like, okay, if you are speeding like crazy and passing people and all stressed out with your driving, you maybe shave like a couple minutes off your time. Like it actually doesn't end up making that much of a difference. Versus if you're just like driving the speed limit and like, going along on your route, you pretty much get there at the same time, especially if you hit a light or something.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? People will
I
like
agree.
speed past and like hit the light and then you end up catching up to them anyways. And you're like, dude, calm
Yeah.
down. So really, unless you're driving for like 5 or 6 hours, sure, maybe over like a longer drive, you might shave off 45 minutes or a half an hour or whatever. But ultimately, you're in this huge stress state when it's like, dude, for that amount of time, you could have just done it more calmly. And I was talking about snow removal for us, right? And it's like, it's the same thing. We can do this in like trying to do it hyperspeed, grouchy mode, no brakes. And what does that do? By the end of us shoveling for hours, we're more sore and everyone's in a bad mood versus like what you said, we could make this more fun. We could be playing music outside and like, stopping and having a drink of water even after going for 45 minutes. And by the end of it, maybe it took us 20 minutes longer, but we were all happy by the end. John's going to feel like that's a direct dig at him, by the way. We did really. He's going to listen.
Sorry,
It's not.
John, not sorry.
So no, because on Friday when we did a bunch of shoveling all together, I think it was Friday. Honestly, I can't keep track of what day it is with having New Year's and Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
I
so
don't
glad
know,
that things are back to normal.
right? Whatever day it was that we did it, we actually did that really well. And I was helping more minimally than usual because of being in recovery mode. So he definitely did more of the work, but we actually had fun doing it. And the boys were outside like jumping snowbanks. And I'm just like, man, there's so much to be said for making these day to day tasks enjoyable and not falling prey to the time scarcity and being realistic with it. It's like, no, we can do this.
Yes,
We can get it done. Like we work
exactly.
together on things. It goes so much better, right?
Yeah, and it was like a really big realization for myself too. Like, why are you rushing? Where are you going? Like, where are
Yeah.
you trying to get to? You know what I mean? It's like, well,
Yes.
why am I stressing myself out? Because we've talked about this before of like putting joy in those mundane day-to-day tasks is kind of
Yeah.
where you find that happiness and find that peace throughout your life. But like if you're trying to rush from one task, then your next to-do list, and then your next to-do list, and you're stressed out all day, and then you go to bed and then you repeat the whole thing the next day. Like it's just such a groundhog day of life that yeah, super big
Well,
realization for myself.
and most of the time when you're in that mode, it's hard to fall asleep because your brain's still
Yeah.
going on the listing, right? Okay, I thought of what I agree, and I thought of what I was gonna say before. So I brought this up when I was cleaning, well, because I've kind of in this mode. It's like let's clean our space, let's reset and get clear and like figure out what we're maybe doing differently or what we're just keeping doing throughout this coming year, this 2026. Right? It's a good time for reflection and reset. And this was the joke I told John. I saw a video of a lady, it's just like a relatable reel. And she's like, oh, I need to mop my house. Oh, crap. Well, in order to mop my house, I need to, it's going through the motions of it. I need to like tidy every room. And then I need to clear the cupboard. And then it leads me to like cleaning the fridge. And then it needs like, she does like 1,000 other jobs and then runs out of time to actually mop, which I'm like, I can't tell you the number of times I've done that where it's like, really, you could just do one room and it's okay if you just mop the kitchen or like the high traffic areas. Like
Yeah.
it's okay if you don't have time to mop the whole house. You can
Yeah.
just mop the front door where people come in with their muddy boots. But it's so hard to let go of like the whole project. But I think it does actually work really well when you do that. My older sister is a champ at this. She has like different rooms, different days. Like, so she'll be like, oh, on Wednesday morning, I'm cleaning my toilets. Or on Thursday, she has lists of like, so she'll like end up always having her house clean. She's a star at cleaning, like having a clean house. But really, I think it's this art of like she's broken it up and like stuck to
Hmm.
her system that no, she's totally gonna listen to this too, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's her system's not quite that way, but it's something like that. And I think it works really well, but you have to get over the psychological hump of you're not doing the whole project all at once.
Yeah, yeah, the whole project thing. That happens with like work for me. Like I try and do that sort of systematic stuff of like, okay, Mondays I'm going to do content, I'm going to script, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do programming on Wednesday, so on and so forth. But then yeah, it's hard to not let those little things like let them in every day. So you're doing like a little bit of each thing every day, which actually doesn't propel you forward as much as it would if you had that like focus block on it.
Right. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. So I feel like there are probably areas where it's better to
Yeah.
chunk off a full big block of time. But I think really this discussion is more creating the awareness of there's different ways that you can try to do things and it's okay to try it. Like just literally do with our list. The reason we finally bit the bullet and started making lists of certain things even for the kids was it was just like just print them off. Let's just try it for a week. Let's just try it for a month. If it's not working, we'll change the way we're doing it.
Mhm.
Whereas we would get caught in the trap of just never implementing a system because we're like, well, what if this? What if that? What if this doesn't work? And you're trying to like predict the whole thing. And it's like, dude, you don't have to be married to the system for the next year. You just need to try it. we do this at the clinic a lot. That 90 days, because sometimes if you only try something for a week, you don't actually see if it works fully, or you don't
Yeah.
see any sort of change in outcome, versus we will implement, if we are implementing or changing a system, we're like, okay, we're going to do this for 90 days. We're going to set this goal for 90 days. And after 90 days, that gives you a pretty good chunk of feedback. Of course, there can be areas where you're being flexible within it throughout a 90-day period, but at least then you have actual data to look back like 3 months and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is definitely trending in the right direction, or it's not, or maybe it's plateaued, right? So what do we need to change?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. You don't have to be married to the system that you do it. I think also people can be comfortable in their own kind of chaos and not even realize that they need a new system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're like, just, okay, this is the way I do it. And they're kind of set on that way of doing it, even though it does cause them stress, just because it's that comfort aspect of like, my body intuitively knows how to do this. And any kind of change or intention that you need to bring is just like even more stress, but so worth it
Right.
in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder how much of that too can be, oh, this is the way it was always done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the pot roast story. You know, the cutting the ends off the pot roast. Have you heard
I don't
that?
cook pot roast, so
Okay. Well, I've heard it with a turkey too, like a turkey. So either one, it's like the daughter is cooking, every Christmas cooks the pot roast and always cuts the ends off, and the daughter's daughter is like, "Mom, why do we cook the pot roast this way?" And she's like, "I don't know. I got this recipe from my mom. Like I got this recipe from grandma." And anyways, and it's been passed down the family line. And then the grandma, asked the great grandma, and the great grandma's like, oh, because they all did it like that, because they all followed the same family recipe.
Mhm.
The great grandma's like, oh, I just didn't have a big enough dish, so it never fit. So I always had to cut the end off. So here they are, like throwing out part of the roast, or I've heard it with turkeys is like they take the legs off the turkey, and it was like the grandma didn't have a big enough turkey dish. So that's what she always did.
That's
So
hilarious.
sometimes when we have these like recipes or formulas or systems that are passed on, it's like, well, why are we doing this? We try to tell our staff this too. It's like we've come up with an idea and a system that we think will work well. Sometimes when you have an employee in a position working day in and day out, they're doing something and they're like, you need to let them know that they have the freedom to be like, these extra 2 steps are really annoying and they're really repetitive. And so we've had times where we've, based on getting feedback from our employees, called our software company and be like, hey, is there any way we can eliminate like a couple of these clicks when we're billing insurance? Because, can you cut when you're doing hundreds of something, even with paperwork? It's like if you have to click 5 spots instead of 10, that actually shaves off a bunch of time and irritation by the end of your workday, right?
Mhm.
So I'm taking it to a work environment, but I feel like we can do that with a lot of things, personal lives, or at the gym, even with our workouts. It's like,
Yeah.
are there times when we can do a superset, or I don't know, whatever?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think just like again asking that, why am I doing this? Can it be more efficient?
Yes.
Is the key to kind of revamping your external environment, internal environment systems throughout this new year. So
Yeah, throughout this year. I think it's going to be great. So hopefully we inspired you to clean up your space if it's going to make your head feel better. Because I sure know it helped mine from yesterday. Like I literally went to bed. I was like, oh, my dresser's
I feel
clean.
accomplished.
I felt so
I was a
accomplished.
good housewife today.
It felt awesome. So, yeah, we love you. We appreciate you. Share this episode with a friend. Make sure you click the subscribe button on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And in the meantime, be free, feel fresh, and live on fire.
Heck yeah.